Bat music.
He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who just rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Hello and welcome once again to Bat Minute Returns, the podcast where it could be worse. We could be watching Tim Burton's 1992 Batman sequel, Batman Returns, 1 second at a time, but we're watching it 1 minute at a time, which is slightly more bearable. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And here to bite through the bull, or the fish, it is I, John Parker.
Bite through the bull? Is that a thing that people say?
Yeah.
I've never heard that expression in my life. But, okay, I'll trust you. Weird flex, but okay, John.
Trust me.
And today we have a returning guest from season 1, a guest who was beyond imitation, girl. It's actress Lauren Ashley Carter.
Hello. I love that intro. That was very clever.
Oh, thank you very much. I've got to bed about 2:30. I was up all night coming up with that one. So,
LAC back in the house.
And today we're here to talk about minute 52 of Tim Burton's Batman Returns. Minute 52 begins with the Penguin spitting. And it ends 1 minute later with Chris Walken declaring that they should make a mayor. Yeah, so let's we can jump on in whenever sorry, that's my got a little tongue tied there.
It's all right. We've been going for hours here now. It's fine.
but yeah, let's just jump on in. So we do get we call him Josh giving the Penguin this cigarette holder and reclaim your birthright. I do wonder, is this the same cigarette holder that Paul Rubens had at the start, and he's like just giving him a dead man's moldy old cigarette holder or something?
It's gotta be, right?
Yeah, I would spit that out. It's like, what the hell are you doing shoving it in my mouth?
Yeah, I wasn't sure or if it was. I could also see it being something like Danny DeVito was like, oh, I want that, and then they were like, oh, well, but it's his, and yeah, but okay, well, we'll just, sure, why not? But nobody, just don't talk about it. Just give it to him.
It's the only thing that makes sense as well, because what else would they mean by reclaim your birthright in this context? Because, like, they're giving him the cigarette holder. It's not like the cigarette holder is a symbol of something other than being a rich asshole.
Right.
Maybe that is it. There's like, you too can become a rich asshole. Now that you...
Yeah, or was there another prop that just broke or wasn't working, and then they said, "Oh, just use the cigarette holder." I don't know.
Yeah, that's a Penguin thing. Go with that. Yeah.
They had they had his dad's monocle, and they kept on jamming into his eye. And like, DeVito was like, "Dude, I'm pretty sure I'm blind in this eye now. You have to do something else."
Little known fact, Danny DeVito is blind in one eye from this movie.
Yep,
that's not fact.
If it was Stanley Kubrick's Batman Returns, then perhaps, yes, that might have happened. But
I tried to find out, a lot of like tidbits about things on this film, and it was really, I couldn't find that much out about, specifically about this scene or, a lot of these weird moments. You would think that there would be more stories behind them, but I don't think that there were.
We've had the same problem. I think it's down to Tim Burton just not liking to talk about things, basically. So I think he's like, well, these are the best bits, so I'm definitely not talking about them.
Yeah. His commentaries on the films are lackluster, to say the least. He's very much just like, yeah, so this was fun.
I like them, but they're not useful for what we're doing.
Yeah, he needs to step up into Arnie territory of just like, if you can't think of anything to say, just describe what's happening on the screen. People will love it.
One of the tidbits that I thought was interesting about Batman Returns is about Michelle Pfeiffer's character and how that she, in the original script, she died.
Well, I was going to ask you about this. Do you think she died? Because I do, and Niall doesn't.
I thought that she did, and then I did okay, right, and then I did get then, so I watched it again, of course, and I was like, oh, okay, so they do there's room for speculation.
There is.
And it was because he said that the test audiences loved her so much that they wanted to leave room, to let people think that she was alive. But he had originally made sure that she was dead in the first script. And I thought that was really interesting. Just like talking about Tim Burton and him not liking to give things up or talk about things, but that he would do that,
That is a strange thing to do, yeah.
I think though, for a second there, you and John were talking about different scenes, because you're talking about the ending. But we've had a debate going on as to when Selena Kyle falls out that window.
When she turns, is that what you mean?
Yeah, because I don't think I think she's like, she's very injured, and she psychologically snaps, but she's not dead. Where we've had a lot of people, I think even Natasha Kermani was like, oh no, she's totally dead.
Yeah,
like,
she's dead to me, yeah.
It's like, oh,
she's dead to me.
No, I agree that I think that it was like, one of the whole 9 lives thing.
I think I might be on my own with this one. I'm backed into a corner. Everyone wants her to be like, no, she's supernatural.
Well,
I'm like, no.
Again, that is left open to interpretation, and I like that. If you watch that and think she's dead, you can go with that magical cat bringing her back to life thing. But there's just as much explanation, like valid explanation, in her surviving somehow. People have survived bigger falls than that in real life.
Yeah. I know in the spoilers for like the 5th season of The Wire, but there's a bit where there's a major shootout where Omar, like one of the most beloved characters, he jumps out a window, and then he's a couple of stories up, and then you see him like a while later, he's just kind of hobbling about, and like apparently a lot of people were like, for a show that's acclaimed for its realism and whatnot, like the fact that he jumped like 6 stories down and he's still okay is ridiculous. And then David Simon came out and was like, well, he's based on a true person, and that person actually jumped 9 stories and survived. But we had to bum it down because we didn't think anyone would believe that we jumped like 9 stories, that it actually happened. And people still didn't believe it. So
I was hoping you were going to say the actor actually did just jump out like that. So it wasn't fake. It wasn't
not Tom Cruise. Okay.
That's one thing.
This whole time, Michael K. Williams has been a ghost in Hollywood. He disappeared. That's the reason he gets cast so much. Is like he's just haunting the set. We have to give him something to do.
Tom Cruise would make an excellent Catwoman.
Oh, I want to see him as Catwoman. Hell yeah, let's do it.
It is true. He would definitely look great in a suit too, because Tom Cruise is in insane physical shape for his age.
Oh yeah, he's fit. Yeah. And I mean that in the real sense, not the English slang sense. Oh, he's fit.
He's well fit, John. He is well fit.
Not my cup of tea. Yeah, but
he is mildly creepy. I'll give you that. He is off-putting. But
that's the thing, though. He's creepy. People laugh at him, think he's weird. But as you say, he would do that stunt. You got to give him props for this stunt work. That's crazy, the stuff he's still doing.
Oh yeah, no. I think at this rate, I feel like he's just ready. He wants to go out, He's just, I can't understand it.
You think that he's hoping this? He's kind of like, I guess Batman in The Dark Knight Rises, where he's kind of like, I'm secretly hoping I'm gonna get killed when I go out there. And Tom Cruise, every stunt, he's like, just let this be the one. Just give me the sweet release from this hellhole I've worked myself into.
Gets him away from the Scientologists, you see.
Yeah. So. He's like, finally I can let the smile die. And he just like...
It's like, I finally, now that I'm in England, I feel safe enough to talk about Scientology. But when you're over there, it's, Speaking of all things Stanley Kubrick, you really do get those vibes, man.
Yeah. See, I do wonder why there's not more films about it, but I guess that's the reason, is because
that's why,
yeah, it's everywhere, so you don't want to bite the hand that could potentially be feeding somewhere.
Well, this last week I've been going... This is all off topic. We're going to get back on the minute. This past week I've been obsessed. Again, I go through waves of this with reading about both Scientology and Mormons. I find them both fascinating things to read about. So I would advise everyone does the same, because it's a world alien to me, all of this.
But anywho, so the Penguin spits out this cigarette holder in second one of this minute. I guess this is actually a big statement, though, by Tim Burton, in that, because the cigarette holder with the Penguin is so synonymous with like the Burgess Meredith version and just the comic book version. I guess him like spitting it out is a real like rejecting what's come before. It's a real like, this ain't your granddaddy's Penguin. This is there's a new game in town. All that kind of business. I love his reaction though, because that happens, and then Jen appears from behind him and just has a little hello, and his reaction of Like he's very, very on edge.
And this style of we've seen it in so many movies of the people coming into, I want to say like this is supposed to be Penguin's makeover moment. Like if we were in any teen high school dramedy, this would be when Penguin's turning into like Princess Diaries, like, getting his hair straightened and all that.
Yeah, he loses the fish. It turns out he's beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love, though, if they had a scene of like Max Shrek sitting outside a changing room and the Penguin coming out in all these different outfits and presenting himself, and Shrek all like shaking his head, and then
and I do love, so you have like that energy, but that nothing changes about him. And I think that's really, that's one of those amazing moments. Like he never gets cleaned up, and he never, he's just still disgusting.
Yeah, they never make him into that image on the poster, which is clearly what they want to do.
Yeah, I think that was a thing. Like you get publicity shots of him in the top hat, the cigarette holder, and the monocle, but it's as if like behind the scenes, like we have no interest in getting him in that getup at any point. This is always going to be the design for him. Actually, should mention as well, talking about like the old school Penguin design, we didn't mention when we covered the monocle in the previous scenes that you can get concept art that Stan Winston's people did, where they actually have the monocle as part of like the Penguin's face, and it's weird because he looks like Brendan Gleeson in the Harry Potter movies. Like, he's got like a weird googly eye where the monocle is and stuff. And it's like, that's so weird that they pretty much made, what do you call it, like Mad Eye Moody or whatever the character's called. It's like, that's him. But it was just in a 1992 Batman movie instead. But I guess,
that'd be cool. I would like that.
Oh, it would have been an interesting look. But tragically, they just decided to off that.
And I would like to know, how often is it? So the monocle has to be just for reading, because I don't think that it's very often that someone is just nearsighted in one eye.
It's odd. Like what I asked this actually. What is the point in a monocle, right? I don't. Why not just wear glasses? You surely have problems in both eyes, or if not, which can happen. You can still have one sort of plain lens. It doesn't have to have anything going on with it.
I do wonder with the Burgess Meredith Penguin, they could have had a backstory where he was like, he's got nerve damage in his face because it's all on one side. He's got the cigarette holder and then the monocle, and it's like his mouth just goes up that way, so he's put a monocle in there to make it look like that's what he's doing, whereas actually that he's got a disfigurement in his face.
Yeah,
that could have been that. I really, really doubt that was anything that the 60s producers were thinking of when they made the character.
No, sadly.
But anywho, we do get Jan here trying to remove the Penguin's fish from his claws.
Oh, I love the way he's reacting to it though, because is he just kind of finding her very alluring, shall we say? Because he's advancing on her, sort of grunting. It's very unnerving.
Well, he does that grunting thing, though. That's like his...
He does, but he seems to have amped it up. Like he's walking at her going...
Well, he is sexual, I think. I mean, he does... That's kind of like he and Catwoman both have this animalistic sexual thing going on about them. Hers is just a lot more desirable.
Yeah, it's interesting. Two different angles on the same idea there, yeah.
Yes. And that also could just be Danny DeVito's innermost desires coming out as well in the form of Penguin. But
I was like, he's just giving the excuse, like, no, I'm just in character. But like,
because I'm wondering, like, was that in the script? Like he advances towards her grunting, or if it's just like he answers her.
But we do have her as she's again trying to remove the fish. I'll use this as an opportunity because when we had Natasha Kermani on, who's the director of Imitation Girl, which is a movie that you star in, Lauren, twice.
And I can explain the whole tuna thing, which is probably on theme anyway.
Yeah, but basically she said like, make sure to ask Lauren about her tuna habits. And I was like, that was a while ago. I was like, what could this possibly mean? So please let us know, because this has been haunting me for like 8 weeks now. What the hell is she talking about?
So I'm a fan of fish on bagels. So, smoked salmon, tuna salad, this kind of thing. And in New York City, you can get a sandwich like this. So you can get tuna fish on a bagel or salmon on a bagel, and it's probably like $15 maybe, depending on what you're getting, $12, $15.
Holy crap.
So it's very expensive, right? And you guys have seen these bagels, the size of the New York bagels, right? They're massive.
We have nothing comparable here.
No. And they're delicious and they're amazing, but they cost a lot of money. So, and I'm a pretty tiny person. But regardless of that, I think that it would be it's difficult for a lot of people to eat a full bagel with a full, they put like, I don't know, maybe a quarter pound tuna salad or more on it.
Holy crap. Here you're lucky to get like a teaspoon.
Yeah, exactly. So I would walk dogs, and I was always in a rush, right? Like I had like anywhere from 8 to 12 dogs that I would walk a day. Whoa. And I'd be rushing around, and I want to get something to eat, and I was also trying to save money. So what I would do is I would get a bagel sandwich. I'd eat half in the morning, and then I'd have half later. And I would do this regardless of what the outside temperature was like. And Natasha thought that I was absolutely horrible and disgusting for keeping a half-eaten tuna salad sandwich for hours in the New York heat and then eating it later. But, I was fine. And I paid for it, and tasted delicious. But what happened was, the reason that she knows that I have this habit is because the first time, we were in a van together, and I pulled out half of a smoked salmon and cream cheese bagel, and she was like, "What is that?" And I said, "Oh, it's like half of my sandwich that we got this morning." And she goes, "You're not going to eat that." I said, "Yeah, I am." And she, so that was the first time she was horrified. And then I think at least on 2 separate occasions after that, she jokingly asked me if I had a half-eaten fish sandwich in my bag, and I did.
Now you always do.
And it would be like at night, like we'd go out for drinks or something, and she's like, can you please just throw it away? And I'm like, no, I'm going to put it in the fridge when I get home. She goes, you're going to eat it tomorrow? And I said, well, yeah, I paid $15 for it. She goes, oh my God, I will give you $15. Throw that away.
I think I'm entirely in your boat, though. It's like, yeah, that's $15. I'm not wasting that. That's crazy. Of course I'm going to keep it.
Yeah, with smoked salmon, it's preserved. Well, I think when I was watching this, so Danny DeVito, we don't know anything. Was that a real fish?
Yes, it was a real fish, I believe.
Yes.
Well, actually, yeah.
I watched that, and I get it, and I buy it. I totally buy it. But Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant, there was no reason that he had to eat that fish raw. There was a fire right behind him.
Yeah, that is a big difference, because, the penguin, he's been raised by penguins. Penguins eat raw fish. But
yeah, totally.
Leo doesn't need to, you're right. Maybe he just likes it, though, from being in the wilderness when he hasn't had a fire, so he's got a taste for it.
Yeah.
And I also want to know about the pescatarian diet, right? Because, yes, he's been raised by penguins, but he's not part penguin. But yet his body is resembling a penguin. So is that, like, if I just ate a pescatarian diet? Like, do you kind of have that pear shape? Is that
It brings that about.
Well, Lauren, there's only one way to find out. I'll need you to report back into the podcast in 10 years after you've eaten nothing but fish. And we'll see what happens. Well, actually, talking about the penguin's body, though, and this is the thing, like, we've been kind of waiting to get to this myth, because you brought this up a couple of times in the show, John, about these gloves she's about to give him. This has always confused the hell out of me, because it's just mittens. Like, if she puts those on his hand, he's still got flippers. They're just not going to fit. I don't understand how the hell she thinks this is going to work.
If they had some kind of way of fitting on where it looked like fake fingers, you'd be like, okay, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but there's no way. It's like a physical impossibility. Unless he literally is clenching his fist and they've got little fingers coming out and he has to go around perpetually with a clenched fist.
No, they clearly don't, though.
Yeah, but even that would require him that you just have weird looking hands, because it looks like he's got a massive bulging clenched fist with fingers sticking out of it. So I have no idea where she was coming at with it. I guess maybe they've not been close to them. They don't know how to deal with the problems.
Well, that's what I think that it's showing, the ignorance and the lack of care.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love, you get one of my favorite lines here. I say that a lot. There's so many good lines in this movie. But the way, because you can miss this so easily, I think, if you're not paying enough attention. When she gives him the gloves and she says, well, her reasoning for it is that research shows that voters like fingers. So, well, okay, yeah, I get that. Maybe they'd be put off by flippers. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, has there been a previous election where someone had flippers and they're like, oh, they died a death? You need to get rid of the flippers, man.
Yeah, it didn't work last time.
We should actually talk. We have not mentioned who this actress is. Apparently she is quite famous. I had no idea. This is Jan Hooks, who was one of the cast members of SNL between 1986 and 1991. I don't know.
General Hooks?
I don't know, Lauren, maybe do you know who? I've never seen this woman before in my life, but it seemed to be like she was revered by the SNL people.
Well, okay. I was brought up watching Mad TV, but yes, okay. I know Jan Hooks better from Third Rock from the Sun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a show that we all watched.
Mm.
Oh, I've seen that loads. Who's she?
But yeah, okay. So what impressions did she do here?
Well, she was in Third Rock. She was Mrs. Dubček's daughter, I believe.
Oh, crap.
I meant on SNL. I was like, what? Oh, the Sweeney sisters. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, Diane Sawyer. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
No, isn't she on 30 Rock? I must call it Third Rock. Isn't she Mrs. Dubček though?
No, she's just Mrs. Dubček's daughter, apparently.
Oh, is she? Okay.
From what I can tell, anyway. I think it's.
Yeah, No. It's me. I'm getting the names wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. But ironically enough, John, you saying 30 Rock, she was also in 30 Rock as well, according to IMDb.
She passed away very young.
Mm.
Oh no.
Yeah, tragically, she died in 2014, was it, or 2000? From throat cancer. Yeah, very, very unfortunate. Also, weird enough, though, she actually is. She was in Pee-wee's Big Adventure as Tina. And she was also in Coneheads, which is, of course, if you're of a certain age, Coneheads is the classic.
Yes.
And weirdly enough, kind of appropriate for current discussions that are going on in the media. She's the voice of Manjula, Apu's wife in The Simpsons.
Oh.
Which is kind of crazy timing considering what's been going down. But
What's the reason that I think that I never recognized her is because the whole time that that she shot in Batman Returns is profile, and her profile is much different, than looking at her straight on. She's never straight on, I don't think.
Yeah. I don't think she is. I think maybe in the background. I'm
looking at this again, and it's just all the side of her face, and so that's probably why I never recognized her.
Oh. But I did also make the note that apparently she worked quite a bit with, again, the tragically late Phil Hartman. And I actually kind of wonder, because the guy, Josh, he gives me a real Phil Hartman vibe. Like, he kind of looks like him.
Totally, yeah.
I wonder if they were trying to get the two of them, and Phil Hartman couldn't do it. Or maybe they were just like, maybe Tim Burton was a big fan of that pairing, and he's like, oh no, I just want a Phil Hartman type. Because, when he leans into the Penguin, and even the kind of character, it reminds you of, like, the Phil Hartman's character in Jingle All the Way. Like, he's a real grin and just sort of, you think he's wholesome, but there's something wicked going on underneath there as well. And
otherwise you'd think, like, did they have to audition for this very tiny, small scene? Like, being who they are, that would be very strange. Usually these kinds of scenes would be, played out by someone like me. Nope, nobody knows who I am.
But yeah, that's the thing, though. Again, the Penguin, very on edge here, because once Jen gives up, she, he's tapped on the shoulder by Josh. I have to say here, right off the bat, what happens here, he has this coming. Like, this is 100% justified, what the Penguin's doing. I have no sympathy for this guy whatsoever, because he just leans into him with a big smile and says, not a lot of reflective surfaces in the sewer, huh? Which is like...
What jerk?
Yeah, what did you think was going to happen? Do you think he was going to be like, oh yeah, I'm ugly? Like, what kind of an asshole says something like this?
And it's also, though, I mean, I think The one disappointing thing, I know, my little penguin, I know. One of the most disappointing things for me was that I wanted more of this side of Penguin. I thought that we were going to get a lot more of this nasty, gnarly. But this is really it's just like a flash of it, and then we don't really get it, do we?
No. I think, this is like I think maybe because they've caught him unawares. Like, he wasn't expecting to come down the stairs to see all these people here. So he's gone into like a primal form. But then once he has a minute to compose himself, he actually remembers like, oh, that's right, I have to sort of act like a person now. And so he's able to go on and join in this laughter here and stuff. Which is, I absolutely love this whole little thing, though. Of the fact his reaction is just like, oh, Josh saying this to him. And then it's just like the all kind of tittering, and then like the penguin like, oh.
And then Christopher Walken's Max Schreck is just like, I don't think that there's any. He doesn't even make any face about it, does he? He's just kind of back in the background watching it all happen.
I think he should be kind of like, I should told them not to mention that he's a hideous mutant.
Yeah, you should really keep that under wraps. You shouldn't be bringing that up. I mean, you could argue that he's being sincere and saying, oh, I understand why you look this way. It's not your fault. But even that's a backhanded kind of a thing. You don't bring that up. Come on. But I do like, though, with all the laughing, you get a really good shot of Penguin's teeth here in the light.
As if they're setting it up for something, really. As well.
Oh, yeah.
It is a big setup, which I do like. You don't see those anymore because they keep trying to surprise us and they don't want us to see it coming. But I love that you expect it, you want it, and then they give it to you.
It's wonderful because you don't think they're going to go there, though. Like, even this movie that's been dark up to this point, you think, that's not going to happen. Yes, it is.
Definitely not a bite to the nose. I think that I thought maybe he's going to hit him in the face with something. You feel the blood. His nose is going to gush blood, but yeah. and you're right. Like, he had to really lean into his face to be like, "What do you mean?"
It's amazing. I love it so much. It's like, it still catches me off guard to this day, even all these years later. Just the viciousness, the violence.
I do love, though, just the sustained laughter, though, because it goes on for like potentially a couple of seconds too long. And I love there's a long shot of all of them laughing, where they're like, the penguin's kind of throwing his head back and looking at Jan it's like oh, we're all buddies here, right? It almost looks like the end of like a 70s cop show or something.
Or it's like that moment in The Wizard of Oz when they do the and then finally the witch comes in.
Well, I love that it goes on too long, though, because to me that's what makes it adds an unsettling layer to it. Because if it was just like laughing for half a second, then he did it, it wouldn't be as impactful, I think, because the longer that goes on, the more uneasy you feel watching it. Like, oh, he's going to do something. And those characters are clearly just like fake laughing at this point. Like, oh, we'll appease him. We'll laugh along with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, then the classic line of, the penguins sort of going, oh, could be worse. My nose could be gushing blood. And then them all going back into laughing again. And the sort of realization of like, wait a minute, your nose could, what does that mean? Like,
and also they just it's even good for that character, so he said like such a classless, horrible thing to Penguin about his appearance, and then he's such a dumbass that he's gonna please expand further on the gushing blood bit.
I know, does he not get the hint?
I think it reminds me as well of again, because we just always call back to The Simpsons on this show.
Watch us, The Simpsons, now.
But just it really reminds me of one of my favorite moments ever in The Simpsons is when like Homer's borrowing money from Patty and Selma, and they're like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll take care of you. Yes, care." And then they start laughing, and he's just standing in the doorway, and then Homer just starts laughing, and then he just goes into proper convulsions where he's like banging the door, keeling over, laughing at just nothing. And I just wanted to bring up that scene because I love it so much.
Danny DeVito kind of sounds like the sisters.
He does.
Yes.
He really does. Should mention though as well that considering what's about to happen, not Steve Whitting's only encounter with Danny DeVito in a violent fashion. Apparently, in the film Hoffa, Danny DeVito also violently beats him up and throws him out of a room. And it seemed to be in quick succession with this film. So it's kind of, it's almost a bit like, I don't know if you guys are aware of the relationship on screen between Joe Pesci and Frank Vincent, where, like in Raging Bull, like Joe Pesci knocks the crap out of Frank Vincent, like breaks a ball over his head, kicks him a couple of times on the way out to a car. And then in Goodfellas, Frank Vincent plays Billy Batts, who is a character that Joe Pesci viciously murdered by beating him to death, pretty much. And then in Casino, years later, Frank Vincent viciously beats Joe Pesci to death. So it's like,
good for him.
Yeah, it's like, this time, Joey, it's gonna be me. I've been waiting for 20 years. But yeah, but weirdly enough, though, Steve Whitting does appear in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but not in the scene with Danny DeVito, which is a bit disappointing.
Oh, that's very disappointing.
Yeah, he actually has a good part, though. If you remember the episode where Dennis and Mac move to the suburbs, and they just kind of become the little unit in the house. He's the neighbor. He's the hot one, huh? He's the annoying neighbor guy who is primed to get bit in the nose because he's so irritating. But, actually, the thing is, he's not all that irritating. He's just being, like, awkward and polite, but he's very irritating to them. So,
he looks exactly the same as well.
Yeah. It's just different hair color. And even here, he could be dying. You never know. I don't trust Hollywood. You never know what's going on there.
It's all a facade.
Yeah, don't trust any of them.
But yeah, of course, after all the laughter and the your nose could be gushing, what? And then the penguin pounces and vicious bite of his nose. And it's, if it wasn't inappropriate enough for kids already, they have a giant spurt of blood just instantly coming out of his nose.
A hilarious spurt. Look at that thing.
And it was like, the reason that I wanted to do that minute is because out of the whole movie, I mean, obviously I loved anything with Catwoman in it. As like a young girl, you're like, oh my God, yes, that's what I want to look like when I grow up, just sewn into pleather. But it was the most memorable scene for me was always that bit, and it was and it just always felt the most like surreal out of the whole film, and that film is very surreal.
Yeah, gotcha.
But that moment, yeah, it is very unsettling and feels like less of, I don't know, the rest of it's so, how Tim Burton, everything is, they're almost like pictures and tableaus of things, and it's like the one that really feels jagged and like it moves to me. And yeah, it was just something that always stuck in my head, and yeah, every time that I watched it, it was like I don't know, it did something to me.
Did something? Oh.
Wow. Is
like
DeVito sexy?
That's just been like every time Lauren's in bed, she's like, I want you to bite my nose.
That's probably a thing. And, if that's your thing, cool.
Yeah, totally.
More power to it.
We're not here to kink shame on that.
No. If people like DeVito or nose biting, go for it.
It's also, we do have to caution people, though. It's probably the best way to get yourself sick. We all know that viruses travel through the nose and eyes very quickly. So if you are biting someone's nose, just make sure you've had your flu shot.
Maybe try not to break the skin as well.
But I should ask as well, Lauren, because if anyone's seen any of your films, they'll most likely have seen you covered in blood at some point, since it tends to be the area where you frequently get cast in. But have you ever had to deal with any violently like squirting squibs, or are you just like, no, I just usually get blood pasted on me? I've not had it squirted out of me or upon me or anything like that.
Well, in The Mind's Eye, I had my kneecap blown out, and you really don't see it it's because it's so dark, the room. And so they put a squib on either side of my knee. So on the front and the back, there were blood packets and then the squibs. And the guy had just bought them, and they were new, and I think different from what he had used before. And they did it the first time, and he said, don't worry about acting. A lot of actors go, oh, what should I do? How would I be if I got shot? What's it feel like? He said, don't worry about that. It's going to feel like something, so just react to the way that it feels. And it was interesting because you don't really feel the pain at first. It just feels like an explosion in your leg. and then the pain comes after. And I thought, ooh, that smarts. Let me take a look at this thing. So, they had to reset everything, give me a new pair of pants to blow out. And I'm looking at it, and I thought, oh my God, if they do this again, I think it's going to break my skin. Because I had this just, where the squibs were, it was bright red. And I could see, like, my skin just looked like it was about to tear. And so I told the guy, I said, I think we should move them this time just a little bit to one side or the other, because I think if we do it in the same place, my skin's going to break. And he laughs and says, oh no. He goes, let me see it. So I showed it to him, and he goes, oh yeah, we need to move that.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, so you tried this out? He was like, yeah, I don't understand. I said, did you put it on your leg? He goes, no, I did it on my chest. And I was like, oh, well, that's why. Like, the skin behind my kneecap.
Completely different.
Yeah, the skin behind my kneecap is a lot thinner than your chest skin. So, yeah, it did sting. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it's a shock for sure. And then, obviously, like in Darling, they just poured blood over my head and splattered it in my face. And so I'm pretty used to it. The Darling was a mess, though, because the bathroom that we shot in everything was white tile, white curtains. The whole thing was white, and then and you have to use two different kinds. So if it's going to be if it's going to be in someone's mouth or face, you don't want to you want it to be as non-toxic as possible.
Oh.
But if it's going to get on furniture and stuff like this, what they usually do is they put detergent. They mix detergent with the blood so that it's easier to get out.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but we had a combination of detergent blood for like gushy things, and then different blood for the face, and eventually you get detergent blood in your mouth, and yeah.
Well, it's okay. You can eat Tide Pods now. It's fine.
It's so true. And the worst thing that ever happened, though, was it was actually a short film that I did back in university, and I had to get into a car accident and have a cut on my forehead. And they wanted it to really be dripping, and they had to get the right consistency so that it would slowly drip but not pour down my face. And, so they kind of keep mixing levels of corn syrup with it to make it thicker. And it ended up getting in my eye, and I have contact lenses. And so this is the last time that if I ever have blood on my face that I ever wore my contacts. And it dyed my contact lenses. And I was super poor, as I perpetually am, but especially in university. And it was like my last pair of contact lenses. So I had to go around with like one eye being bright red, and everyone thought I had pink eye. Yeah. But, I don't even notice it anymore. But, and Brian and I in Darling, when we had our scene together, when I'm like sawing his body apart, we both were just covered in blood, and we had to wait. They did push-ins and they had to do setups, but we couldn't move because everything was placed just like so. For continuity, all the splatters and the body, we didn't want any bloody handprints anywhere. Yeah. So we were just stuck with each other in the tub, and then we quite literally got stuck together. So by the time they were ready to shoot, our skin had like bonded from the fake blood. And I had, it was mostly just my hands and legs, but he was almost completely naked, and I was like ripping my flesh off of his stomach and really sensitive places like that.
This is like in comparison then, it's like, oh, Steve Whitting, just like a little squirt of blood out your nose. That's nothing, dude. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I also, doesn't it make you wonder how many times they had to do it and like how hard, because Christopher Walken said Danny DeVito was in character the entire time. And I'm sure he seems like a sweet guy and a super safe actor, I'm sure. But also there had to be something really scary about this guy being in character as a complete psychopath. And was he doing rehearsals with him? Or was he just like, no, I'm going to do it on the day?
But I could believe that they just did it on the day. Like, to help keep a separation there and keep the mystique and the weirdness of his character.
was terrible to find out though that this wasn't in the script, and Danny DeVito just did. He went so messy.
It's real.
And like Steve Whitting's like, that's why I don't appear with him. And It's Always Sunny. I refuse to work with Danny DeVito ever again.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny though. It could be.
I'll be honest though, I don't know. The trajectory of that blood squirt, would a nose squirt like that? Like I've hurt myself, and it's never shot 500 feet into the air.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a vein that's pumping so hard through your nose that it would squirt so immediately like that. But who am I? I'm not a doctor. I couldn't possibly say.
I love it though. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Oh,
it has to do that.
But of course, that's a weird thing because there's a delayed reaction from the crowd too. When it cuts to the Josh kind of like stumbling away, there's a couple of ladies at the front, and they seem to be sort of like looking at him for a bit, like all smiles. And it's after about 2 seconds, they're like, "Oh my God, something actually happened to him." It's like, have you not seen the last 5 seconds of what happened right in front of you? The penguin just got him in the friggin' notes.
I suppose though it'd take a little while to process that. Like you wouldn't believe what you were seeing.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what? Nah, that's not happening. Oh my God, it is.
But just, and then you're presented with the ludicrous the idea that someone running for public office who could have something so publicly damning against them that would make everyone repulsed by him, but somehow they're still voting for the guy, which seems I don't know, it seems odd. I don't think that would ever happen. But
yeah, I thought we might get to this place. Like after I watched it a couple times, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't seem so weird now, I guess.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's perfectly believable.
It is literally like as we were getting like ready to start this season, you're watching the news and you're just like, oh, this Mexican border, they're putting children in cages, and it's like, oh, the penguin puts a lot of kids in cages at the end of this movie as well. It's getting eerier every day.
It is like they watched the movie and were like, that's a good idea.
That's a fantastic campaign, that guy. I mean, as long as you get past the whole saying the stupid things on tape, you're fine.
No, because that's happened in real life and it didn't make a difference.
Yeah, the locker room, yeah.
I do wish there was a scene after that whole scene in this movie where the penguin comes out and he's like, that was all locker room talk.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
He's like, you can just grab him by the tuna and they let you.
Oh my God. Not that I ever talk like that, but if I ever did for any reason, that's my slang term now.
That's again John in the bedroom tonight now with his girlfriend. Like, what the you call it now? Jesus Christ. Who were you talking to earlier?
Oh my God.
Yeah. But of course then we get Max Schreck leaps into PR mode of just like, okay, everyone back to work and let's make a mayor. I do think, as you're saying, Lauren, we don't really get seeing Jen and Josh later in the movie, which I think is a kind of a mistake. I would love to see in later scenes, like Josh in the background with like a bandage on his nose, still just like just a guy. He's just a sycophant. He's just there to do whatever. Exactly.
Or even bandages like on other places as well. Like he's been snapped at again repeatedly.
Yeah. Oh, that would be a great recurring gag. Penguin just
Yeah. That's the one reason I really like. Well, among the many reasons I wanted to see a season 4 of Hannibal, because I don't know if you ever watched Hannibal, Lauren, but like they had the guy, Chilton, the character from just all the books and stuff, and in season 2 he's season 1 he's disemboweled by Eddie Izzard. Season 2 he survives that. Season 2 I think he's shot in the face, and he survives that. Season 3 he's burned alive, and he survives that. And I just wanted to see if the season 4 came up, would they have something else happen to him as well? And he's just like, at the end of the show, he's just like an eye in a jar.
He's like the Black Knight.
It's a flesh wound.
But hashtag renew Hannibal. Just always throw that in there. Entirely on Netflix now, too. No excuse to not watch it, people. By all means, get out there.
Watch it. I have the Blu-rays and I watch them all the time.
But yeah, I think that's all in terms of the action for this minute. Dave, you guys, is there anything else you want to bring up that happens on screen or anything? Or
that's about it. Other than the plan for making this guy who just bit someone's nose the mayor. It's utterly insane. Because you say he goes into PR mode. He does. But he doesn't do much to like, because you think, right, we're going to have to really reform his image now. These people have just seen him bite someone's nose in half.
Yeah, but it's his own team. And so, they're not going to, there's no other side to condemn it.
You think they'd quit? I'd be out of there.
It could be like, you don't know how much they're getting paid, though. It could be like they're just civil servants who are like, we're paying you like 50 grand a year just to make this guy look good. And
but that also just shows you like how disgusting politics are, that you know, that he can bite someone's nose, and that's really not even the worst thing that anybody can do, or nobody cares. Like, they're just,
I think really that's what Tim Burton's saying with this scene, and the way they easily accept, like, oh yeah, okay, fine, we'll make him. They don't question it. Nobody does anything about it. Because why would they?
I mean, we'll get to like a weirder moment later on in the film where there's like young women who are like really into the Penguin. Like, they're probably that's crazy to me. But again, that's another. That
would happen.
Yeah, I'm sure it would. But it's just like,
who's the guy who like went on, the big fat guy who went on the big like cocaine bender for like days and days, and they got a picture of him like outside, like with a bag of like crisps on his belly. Oh my god, I kept it as a picture on my phone for ages. And he had all these like rent boys. And God, it was so funny.
I can't remember the name though.
Yeah, you know who I mean though.
Yeah,
and it's like all
we'll
over
have to post this in the group.
Yeah, and you see him out with like these really young, hot-looking guys, and he's just like a disgusting pig who like has, you know, Cheetos stuck to his belly button, and like a horrible person. But yeah, it doesn't. If you have money, I mean, people will do anything. That's why they have all those challenges on Twitter. Like, would you, you know, like eat a bag of shit every day at noon if someone gave you $30 million and it was going to be warm, you know, or like, would you drink horse semen every 5 minutes for 20 million, you know, like these things are, I hear are all over the internet.
I know there used to be, in the UK, they used to have in Channel 4 on a Friday night, they used to have like the alternative comedy show. It was called The Word. And they used to have people, I can't remember if they're called like the Desperates or something, but it was people who would do anything to be on TV. And they just appear and go like, I'm such and such, and I will do anything to be on TV. And they would literally have them eating a bowl of like toenail clippings or like picked off scabs and stuff. And they put milk on it, and you'd see them just eating it on TV. It was revolting. But that again in the 90s, that was Friday night entertainment for people.
Wow, they were just like, they just saw Ren and Stimpy, and they were like, what if this was real?
Yeah, pretty much exactly. It was kind of like your Friday night on Channel 4 was like Friends, Frasier, this. And it was like, there's a distinctive jump in class here between these three programs.
I like the way that sums you up, Niall, that little collection. That's your evenings back then, yeah?
Oh, yeah, totally. Oh, 100%. Still watching the
especially
Frasier.
Especially the Frasier, yeah. I was more of a morning Frasier man. It was always on at like 7 a.m.
It's still on every day at 7 a.m.
It was just on today, like on 3 different channels.
There you go. That seems to be the time everyone in England watches Frasier.
Oh, they just have it on a cycle, because I spotted it the other day. It was like, oh, that's season 11. That's near the end. And then I came back a couple of days later. What episode is it? Season 1. They just come right back to the start.
Just loop.
Just do it over and over and over again. This Channel 4 does that as well with Father Ted. I think more 4s had Father Ted on every night, every Sunday for about 15 years. Like they just
at least since it aired the first time.
Yeah, it's like, oh, people still watch it. And I remember when I was a student, there's like, yeah, people around your house on Sunday night. We all know Father Ted. Just stick him on in the background while we're talking. It's a good failsafe.
There's hardly any episodes, but I watch them all again and again and again and again.
But at this point, Lauren, we usually would ask if the guests, if they have any memories of seeing this movie for the first time, or have any just fond memories of the film in general. Does it evoke any memories from your past or anything, or?
Oh yeah, I mean there were tons. I had Batman on VHS, and my best friend had Batman Returns, and so we would this is so ridiculous. We would watch Batman at my house and Batman Returns at hers, as if we weren't allowed to leave the circle with our Batmans. But I always remember going to her house and watching Batman Returns, and so it's really filled with. She had a waterbed, and that kind of came back to me being on the waterbed, and we had a trunk of dress up clothes, and so we would try. I forced my we had Halloween magazines, and they would come every year, and you could order a costume out of them by mail, And
The best
so
thing I've
that
ever heard.
my dad would let me order a costume out of the magazine, and Catwoman was in that year that the movie came out, and I was so excited.
Yes.
And so I made him get me the Catwoman one, and it had the fingers, like the little razor, but they were plastic, of course. Yeah, and so you fit them on the tips of your fingers. And I thought that I was so cool. And like, oh my God, I felt amazing in that. And I used to dress up in it all the time. And then recently my mom gave me pictures from when I was dressed up like Catwoman. And oh my God, I looked like such a nerd. It was awful. Like the mask was too big, and like I was really, really skinny, and nothing fit right. And yeah, and I don't even think it really looked like a cat. It looked more like a Wolverine or a wombat or something. But yeah.
Well, I think we're going to have to ask for those pictures, Lauren. So just for some additional public humiliation to go along with the podcast.
I can probably get that picture for you, actually.
Yes.
Because we usually put up a picture of the guests with it. So if that is just the picture next to your episode, there you go. It'll be intensely appropriate.
I think I can get it. She sent me a whole collection of them. She also sent me one dressed as Elvira. Yes, also same with Elvira. Like I put the wig on in the black dress, and I was like, yes, I'm so hot.
It's a good look.
Well, I've actually, weirdly enough, I watched Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, just the other day as well.
Oh, it's so good.
Well, I was weirded out because I was like, oh, but she's still going. Looked up Elvira, and she's like, is she like 67 or something? And she looks
amazing.
Yeah, she looks like pretty much exactly the same. It's like, that's crazy.
Yeah. She looks incredible. I always play her Halloween song she did a few years ago. It's like Two Big Pumpkins, which is fantastic.
So remember, apparently they did do a reality TV show looking for the next Elvira, and someone did win it. But Cassandra Peterson is still like, hey, I'm still going. Like, you can do it in like 20 years when I'm dead. But yeah,
understudy.
Yeah, it's very much like, I don't know, it should never happen to me. You've got this part now, but like, you might be waiting a while, kid. But yeah, I'm all noted out. If you guys are.
I am indeed. Well, before we head off into the dark, dark night, Lauren, would you like to tell our listeners where they can find you online? Anything you'd like to promote?
Yeah, you can still find me on Twitter. I'm Bloody LAC. Imitation Girl is on all streaming platforms now, Amazon and iTunes and all that. And then Gags, that's the latest horror movie that I did. We are talking to people. They are talking to people right now about distribution. So that's very exciting. And we should have some news shortly about distribution for that movie, Gags. It received a lot of good praise. People seem to really like it. I had a hell of a time filming, like the best time. It was so fun. And yeah, currently I have a lot of projects that are on the burners at the moment. The big project, The Baby, is now complete, so I can move on to other things. He'll be raised by a safe, loving penguin family.
As all children should be.
As all children should be. So at the moment, I guess just stay tuned, look for Gags, and we have a lot of exciting stuff coming from the company of Lauren Ashley Carter.
I did remember a note to mention that because the last movie we were like, oh yeah, we're dealing with a film about an evil clown. You're in a movie with an evil clown. And since then I've noticed that you're in a movie called Arctic, and the villain of this lives in Arctic world. What the hell?
Everything's connected.
That's Arctic and Arctic.
Oh, sorry.
I haven't heard anything yet from the director of that film, which is not unusual when I'm not, like Natasha and I are very, very close. But otherwise, I just wait for the emails like everyone else. So
it's coming out now.
Yeah, so I'm not sure yet the status on that one. But as soon as I know, I will be posting it everywhere.
Oh, excellent. We will share. We will share indeed. And if you would like to get in touch with us for any reason, I don't know why you would, really, let's be honest, then we're on Twitter at BatMinute, but you can join in the wonderful chat online at the BatMinute Listeners Cave on Facebook. That's the best place to talk to not only us, but all the other listeners, all the fans, all the cool folks on there. Everyone's lovely. And if you'd like to review us on iTunes, we would be very, very grateful. But we will be back on Wednesday. We will see you again for minute 53 of BatMinute Returns.
Next time, diabolical double entendre. After sniping at a schnoz and making the public sick, a penguin is preoccupied postulating about his French flipper trick. But can a placid plutocrat who's far from annoyed persuade our peculiar perp to start filling a void? Find out Wednesday. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.